the screen. There we go. It's just for you. And we'll go through some really simple basics, and then you can do it. Okay. So if you in the layers, the most important part is grouping and the layers and naming the layers, because it does go over into Photoshop when you name the layers. Very important. However, first thing to do is have a concept, really. So I'm going to start afresh. I'm going to pretend that I'm starting a fresh project here with this. And initially, what we're going to do, and the most important thing for anyone to do, is just basically start with a base, like a template, if you will. One shape is best, I've found. So if, for example, we're going to do this shape, and it depends on the project as well, depends what you're doing, but let's just, for safety's sake, we'll just have something like that. Yeah? That can be our base shape. And then what we would do is we'd add things to that. So we'll say that's our body, for example. We'll go into the layer, and what we'll do, we'll rename that. We'll just rename that base layer. Okay, we've renamed that, and then I'm going to duplicate that layer and turn it off, just in case anything goes wrong, because these things go wrong now and again. And this base layer now, I'm going to rename that. I'm just going to call it body 1. So I'm going to call it body. I can spell body 1, and then I'm going to do a hashtag. Now these hashtags determine how frequently the asset in your generative collection will appear. You don't have to do this now. You could do this at the end. You could decide on how rare or common the traits are at the end. Sometimes that's recommended, but I'm going to do it now just so we can compile it all into one lesson. So I want this body to appear relatively frequently, so I'm going to put 7, okay? So I've done that. And now this particular body, I'm going to colour it in purple. So I want that to be my base body. I like simple designs. You can go as crazy as you want, but the most important thing to remember is this is the bottom layer. So every other layer you do from this point is going to be stacked on top of this layer. So this is our base layer, and then you would probably duplicate that. You can have as many bodies as you want, basically. The more the better. You are limited to layers in Procreate. I've set the dimensions of this document to 3000 by 3000. You can check if you go in your canvas information, it will tell you how many layers you can do if you click layers. So the maximum layers I can have on this project is 112. It's not a huge amount. It's not a huge amount, and that's based on the dimensions and memory and all that stuff. So you are relatively limited with Procreate. Just bear that in mind. So I can have a maximum layer of 112. So once you've done your body, what I'm going to do, I'll just do another one. Oops. So this base layer, I can use that, or I can just use that layer. I'm going to duplicate that layer because I'm being lazy, just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to rename that body 2. Give it a hash. I don't know, hash. Bit of, I can't even see. 6. Let's say. And then I'm going to change the colour of that and probably have a nice blue colour. Ooh, nice and vibrant. A nice blue colour. Okay. Next stage is you do that and then group them. So we'll group that by dragging it like that, and then we'll name the group body. These here, it doesn't have to be body. It could be like bubblegum, or the one underneath could be chewing gum or something like that. Elephant, pink elephant, whatever, just to give it more of a trait-like name. And then what will happen is when we use the script, it'll take that folder and it will know that whatever's in that folder is part of the body trait. And so you'll get your body trait, and then you'll get all the ones underneath when it generates it. Okay, so you got your body. Next thing I'm going to do eyes. So you don't really need a base layer for eyes, I wouldn't say. It can help, but I'm going to call this pinholes. Oops. Pinholes 4, let's say. And so I want these eyes to be like that. So those would be 1 trait, okay? Now, I mean, you can even start playing at this point, you know. So we've got 2 different little creatures here, and you just keep going. You keep building your layers up and up. So you'll do that, and then you do what I did. So you'll create as many eyes as you can, group them all together, and call that group eyes, and then you can name them, and then we'll do like mouths. I don't know. So that's 1 mouth, and then you do more mouths. So I'm just gonna do another mouth. So I'll turn that off so I know what I'm doing. Oops. Let's try something like that. And then you start building a picture, and you can see as you go along that. I mean, this mouth is because it's in a completely different place. This layer wouldn't be on, so you'd have a creature with a mouth like that, and you'd have a creature with a mouth like that. So it creates a really nice, varied set collection of characters, and there's nothing more important than that, really. And I think you just go along doing that. I mean, another layer you could have, so you group all those together and you call them mouth. We could have another layer of arms. So we could have an arm, and that arm could do different things. I think that's too thin. I mean, you might want an arm here as well. But if you're going to do that, what I would recommend is having that underneath the body layer. Anything behind the body, potentially, like a hand or something like that, do it behind the body layer. The only other issue with that is the colour of the body. You won't be able to match the colour of the arm with the body, so maybe don't do anything behind it. Because I've drawn that arm on the body there, it will always be pink. Or it will always be blue, because I've not filled it in, you see. That's important to remember that. I've encountered a few issues with that in the past. The other option you can do, so you don't just have to have an arm like that. What you could have is you could have another full body layer. So you could have you could dress it in theory. So you could put tops on. So you're not limited to. So I've given him a bit of a t-shirt there. That t-shirt in theory could have arms. we could have arms for that, in theory. And we could technically have those whatever colour we wanted, because it's all part of the same body. Oops. It's all part of the same body that's kind of overlaid. It's almost like dressing the character rather than just colouring the same body. And you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. Make sure to name them. Make sure to group them in the appropriate things. Any accessories, you group them in an accessories folder, and you keep going probably until you run out of layers, actually. Then test them, turn them on and off, have a look, see what they look like. When you're ready, go to Share and click on PSD where it says Share Image at the top. You click PSD, it will save it as a Photoshop file, which then someone who's got the script can import into Photoshop. If you want to do it yourself, which is not as simple, but Hashlips has an art generator that you can use. Highly recommend doing that if you want to experiment with it. I don't think it's overly complicated. You just have to download a few things to your computer. Make sure that you export. So when you're sharing, make sure where it says share layers, make sure you share the layers as PNG files. And it should export the groups as in their own folders, from what I recall. I've not done that. I've only ever used Photoshop. And like I said, if it's too complicated, I'm more than happy to help people run the script. Obviously, I will, there'd be a small fee for that because it takes time, but it's not impossible and it's worth it. But if you want to learn, then use the Hashlips engine. So I hope this has been helpful. And good luck, and let me know how you get on. I think that's the most important thing. I'm really intrigued to know